Hey everyone, hope y'all are having a good day. I am making this assignment for this video based on the Excel assignment one, and this is over the chapter two material that we have gone over so far. So I have Connect opened. I'm in the web-based Excel browser that populates, and I see that I have a ton of T accounts. And like what we talked about in job order costing, right? We kind of have the flow of all of our different our materials and items and manufacturing overhead that we apply, and we look at those in terms of a T account. So hopefully y'all are kind of comfortable with those concepts. And now we get to apply them in Excel to create, right, a schedule of cost of goods manufactured and an income statement. So it looks like what we have are some options in a drop-down menu, and we are trying to create a schedule of cost of goods manufactured. So what I would do if I were you is I would go ahead and pull up my cost of goods manufactured report from the PowerPoint that we have covered. And I would just start populating my cost of goods manufactured. Now, there might be a couple of differences here just based on if we have beginning inventory, based on maybe some different verbiage up here, but we know that the report the bones of it stays the same, right? So in my raw materials, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, I know I need something that is raw materials purchased, but did I have any beginning materials here? And yeah, it looks like I did. I had some beginning raw materials, and I know that because that's what I started with. Here's what I purchased, and here's what I requisitioned into work. So I have my raw materials, and I need to add my beginning raw materials inventory to that. Then, when I'm filling out my schedule of my cost of good manufactured, I know that I also need to say, here's what I started with, here's what I bought, and that's going to give me my raw materials available for use. So I know that this is a subtotal or a sum, right? So right away, I'm going to shoot over into cell B34, and I'm going to tell Excel to go ahead and sum the above totals right here for me. And it's populating a zero because there's nothing or there's zeros in these cells. So there's nothing to sum at this point. Okay. So now I'm going to go back over to my dropdown and I'm going to say I have my raw materials available for use. And now I need to understand, well, how much did I use? So in order to do that, I'm going to subtract out my raw materials ending inventory, just like what we did over here. And then I am also going to subtract out any raw materials for general factory use. Okay. Now I know that this once again is going to give me some sort of a subtotal. And why do I know that? Well, because Excel, it has this line under it, and in accounting, we know that that represents the subtotal. But also, I know that this calculation is going to tell me my total direct materials used. So again, I don't necessarily need to do this at this point, but I think it's a pretty good idea to do it, where I'm just going to tell Excel right away before even entering any or any values in the above cells. I'm going to say, Excel, I want you to perform a sum for me, and I want you to grab any of the above. So I want you to say raw materials available for use, less my ending raw materials inventory, less my raw materials used in factory use. And I want you to tell me what that is. Okay. Now we've worked halfway down, and I'm saying I know my direct materials used, and I know to calculate my total current manufacturing costs, I need to pull in my direct labor, and I need to pull in my manufacturing overhead applied, which it says applied overhead here. So that's going to give me my total manufacturing costs, DMDL applied overhead. So again, right away, I'm just going to come in and say, hey, Excel, once I populate these values, I want you to give me the sum. Let me see. The sum of, right here, sorry, it's getting a little bit funky. The sum of cells B37 through B39, which is individually saying direct materials used, plus direct labor, plus overhead. Again, populating zero because nothing's in those cells yet. So after my current manufacturing costs, I just plug and chug a little bit more and I say, I need to let me see, add in my work in process beginning inventory, and I need to subtract out my ending work in process inventory. And that is finally going to give me my cost of goods manufactured. Okay. So pause the video and ask yourself, what formula do you think that you want to put in this cell right here? Hopefully you've paused it. And we're going to say, Excel, I want you to sum a couple of things for me. And that is, I want you to sum from, let me see here, sorry, from total current manufacturing costs plus my WIP beginning less my WIP ending to calculate how much I produced in the year, okay? Or during the period, I should say, because it's for the month ended in January. So now, excuse me, I'm good to go ahead and close out of this until I want to go back to my, what do I want to say, income statement in a second, but I'm going to make this bigger so we can take a look at this. So now I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so I can see my T accounts at the same time. Maybe one more. Yeah, that's getting a little bit egregious, but check out up here and you're going to be able to see what equations I'm using or what formulas I'm using. So here, I need to start with my raw materials beginning inventory. And I do not want to hard code anything. So I am going to say, hey, Excel, I want you to equals, right, and return my raw materials beginning inventory, which I know is what I started with on the debit side of my raw materials. Because my raw materials is an asset account, my beginning balance is listed first, and then I have any purchases and anything that I requisitioned into use. Okay. So I press enter and Excel is automatically going to return that 24 grand. And you can see because this is all formulaically driven, it's summing anything that's above it. So pretty nice that all I've done is entered one thing and a bunch of stuff has already started populating. So now I need to say, hey, Excel, I want you to return the raw materials that I purchased during the year. Well, what raw materials did I purchase during the year? Well, I know that is something that had to increase my raw materials account. And I know purchases during the year increase my raw materials account. So I say, hey, Excel, go grab the cell where my raw material purchases are contained. Hey, pretty cool, right? Now all of a sudden, I'm saying I had total raw materials available for use of about $93,000. Okay. Well, when I'm still trying to calculate how many direct materials I used, I need to say, okay, I want to subtract, as indicated by the less, raw materials ending inventory. Okay, where is my raw materials ending inventory contained? Well, it's right here, right? So I know that it needs to be a negative value though. And the reason that I know it needs to be a negative value is because it says this less right here. So I'm going to say, hey, Excel, return to me a negative value. Look at what I just did up there. I pressed equals and then I pressed negative sign. And I need my ending inventory of raw materials, which I know is at the bottom of my T account. Beautiful. Now, again, anything below that we've entered a formula for has already populated. So we're pretty far in now. So now I need to also say, hey, Excel, I want you to turn around and subtract out any raw materials that I used for general factory use. So where am I going to go? I'm going to say, all right, Excel, where do I need to go? I need to say, go to negative manufacturing overhead for general use. Okay. So I'm starting with my manufacturing overhead, and this is for general use, right? So I press enter, and now once again, Excel is automatically summing things for me, which is making it pretty dang easy. Okay, so where do I go to hit my direct labor? Well, I'm going to scroll up a little bit, and I see a direct labor right there. And I know that I want my total direct labor. Sorry, let me click in that. And I know I want my total direct labor. So I'm going to say equal sign. And I'm going to say, Excel, go grab my final or my ending direct labor value. and I press enter, and I should be good to go. Now we're absolute wizards at how these cost flows flow through everything. So I know my applied overhead is always applied as a credit in my manufacturing overhead account. So I press equal sign, which is telling Excel to go grab this credit value right here in cell H20. So far, I have total current manufacturing costs of $153,000. And now I'm pretty close to being done. All I have to do is now look at where I started and where I ended with my work in process, which is going to say, here's how much I spent, here's how much I started with and ended with. So I kind of back into that cost of goods manufactured. So where do I find my beginning work in process inventory? Well, of course, I go to my work in process inventory account up there, and I'm looking for my beginning. So I press equal sign, and I know my beginning is always contained in the cell or in at the very top of my T account, right? So I say, hey, Excel, go grab cell A12. And if I click in here, it'll highlight it again. And now that's dropping down into Excel and automatically calculating it for me. So where do I look at my work in process ending inventory? Well, again, we got to be a little bit careful because we know that it says less here. So I know I need to subtract it. So I say, hey, Excel, I want you to grab the negative value of my ending work in process inventory, which is contained at the bottom of the debit in my WIP account. So here we go. I have just completed my cost of goods manufactured report for the period ended January 31st, based on Excel turning around and going and grabbing different values for me. So I'm going to let you guys pause this super quick, and I am going to as well. Go ahead and pull up your income statement and get that all filled out. And then we will go through the same Excel kind of mechanics and what we're looking for there. So fill out your income statement, and then we'll keep going. All right, everybody, hopefully you took the time to go ahead and pause the video and get these all populated. Like I said, this screen is split so you can see where all of these different values are coming from, right? So less about kind of the concept that goes behind it and more about populating it and how that looks in Excel. So I'm going to once again make this big, and we are going to kind of have Excel go grab some data for us so that we don't have to go through the process of doing it ourselves and manually hard coding it. Because now I can use this workbook for months in the future without having to, update it ever. It's very flexible and allows for changes. So I'm kind of rolling with the same principle as what we've been doing for the last few minutes, and I need to go grab my sales revenue. So, excuse me, I'm going to press equal sign, and I'm going to go find my sales revenue T account. And I know that I earned $256,000 in sales revenue this year. Okay. So this is blank because it doesn't want us to put anything here, because all this is saying is here's a cost of goods sold, and that's being calculated down here by adding these different things. So we are saying, first off, to calculate my cost of goods sold, I know my formula is my finished good beginning inventory plus how much I manufactured, less how much was still sitting there at the end to allow me to calculate or kind of back into cost of goods sold here. So what's my finished goods beginning inventory? All I have to do is press equal sign, and I go up to my finished goods beginning inventory, and I know it's 32,585 if I could talk. I press enter, and that populates down there. What is my cost of goods manufactured? Well, we've been going up to these T accounts this entire time, but now it's pretty easy because I just went through the process of calculating it. That's why I have to come up with my cost of goods manufactured report first. So all I have to do is say, all right, Excel, go grab me this cell right here of my $157,000 cost of goods manufactured. Now I'm going back up to my T accounts, and I know I need to subtract something. So you guessed it. I'm going to write my equal sign and my subtraction sign to tell Excel I need the negative value that is my finished goods ending inventory, which is this $15,000 right here. I press enter, and this is now all populated. So my preliminary cost of goods sold, I know, is a subtotal. So what do I need to do? All I need to do is press equal sign and write my sum function similar to above, start my parentheses, and bop that all the way down. So I'm telling Excel to add finished goods beginning inventory plus cost of goods manufactured plus my finished goods ending inventory, which is stated as a negative value, to then end up with $174,000. So remember, now we're saying, hey, I estimated my manufacturing overhead and I'm an accountant, not a future teller. So I probably messed up a little bit, or I didn't budget exactly 100% correct. So it looks like if I roll up to my manufacturing T account or my T account for manufacturing overhead, I have a debit balance in my account at the end of the period. So what that means is I credited my account by 41,174, but I actually incurred 41,732, which I just highlighted these cells, and Excel is automatically going to sum it for me down here so that I can quickly analyze that. So what that means is I didn't quite budget enough, right? So I have a debit balance in my manufacturing overhead, which means I need to increase my cost of goods sold by that I under budgeted. So I have equals adding my under applied overhead. So I go grab that 558, press enter, and it looks like that's flowed down. So to calculate my cost of goods sold, well, think about it. I have my preliminary cost of goods sold. I've adjusted it for the overhead that I didn't apply quite right. So again, I'm going to say equal sign sum. My function is telling me that I want Excel to add the preliminary COGS cell plus the under applied overhead. I press enter and it populates it. So now I'm asking myself, well, what the heck is my gross profit? And I know from financial accounting, right, that my gross profit is telling me it's a really easy metric to say, here's how good you're doing at selling your products at more than what it costs you to produce them, right? So it strips out all of my other expenses, and I'm just looking at equals my sales revenue, and I am subtracting out my cost of goods sold. Okay, so then I am going to press enter, and I'm going to get a gross profit of 82 grand. I thought I had to sneeze. Sorry, I sounded weird for a second. So like I said, that strips it out and it just says, hey, here's how much I'm making at selling my products. What do we have next? We know that we have SG&A, also called period costs, that I need to take care of as well. So I scroll up here and it looks like I have an ending expense account of 41,000 bucks. So just think, am I trying to add or subtract that expense? Well, I know that I need to show my expense in an income statement as negative. So again, I said, Excel, I want you to equal the negative of this cell right here, which is my ending selling and general and administrative expense. So now I'm in my very last cell of the assignment, and I just want Excel to sum me the gross profit less my selling and administrative expense to give me my net operating income of $40,000, 483. So with that, that's kind of what we got going on in this Excel assignment. We're taking all of the costs that have flowed through our different accounts throughout the manufacturing process. We're trying to figure out how much we actually manufactured, how much, how much our cost of goods sold turned around to be, and then how much income we actually profited during the period in January. So hopefully this is helpful. You guys can go watch it back if you have any questions, but let me know Otherwise, I will just let you know if you have not figured this out as yet, Excel or this assignment won't let you just hard code numbers. So it won't accept that as a correct answer. So you got to use your formulas. Sorry, it's telling me I can't undo it, but you got to use formulas to make sure that this stuff is right. So I'll update this again because otherwise that's going to annoy me. Okay, we're good to go. Go ahead and check that work. And that's kind of it. So I'm going to stop recording and let me know if y'all have any questions over anything that we've covered, any Excel stuff, any content in the course, and I would be happy to help. Otherwise, have a good rest of your day, and I will see y'all soon.